What's up YouTube? Today I wanted to show you my Memento deck profile that I played at the last two OTS championships. One was for me yesterday and the other one was last week at Saturday. I became first place once and the other one I got third place, but it was by default. This could have been the back-to-back, but I was just bad in the game. I lost to Gem Knight in one round and then couldn't win obviously, but I should have won. There was no world actually where I could have lost, but I still lost, so it was my fault. So yeah, let's just get right into it. It's obviously pure Memento, as always. So for main deck, I think this is just exactly the list that I showed in the last video. So for these starters, you have 3 Anguish, 3 Dark Blade, 3 Tatsu. This is probably standard. If you play pure Memento, you shouldn't cut anything. You just don't want to cut consistency at all. And this is just it. And a other edition, or the new edition, is the 3 piece, what I already talked about in the last videos. And I think there was a decklist also where you saw the 3 piece. This works. Even this makes your push through boards very good. Especially when your opponent, for example with Murakumo, pops your board and then you have Sleepy. It's just insane. So this is a starter as well, because this plus any momentum name is full combo. So you have theoretically 3, 6, 9, 11, 14 starters, which mostly is enough, and you also got some other cards that function as starters. So oops. Then for the non-starter cards, you got those 4, or monsters. This is a semi-starter. This normally does nothing on its own, but in combination it can also be a starter. Maze Puzzle Name is also a combo. But you have to play these. I wouldn't play Horn Dragon right now. It's not that great into boards. The interaction effect in the opponent's turn is not that great, and it's an unnecessary card that's just a brick, so those 4 are enough. Obviously those are managed, or you cannot cut those. And then for the spells, 3 party, 3 fusion, 1 feed spell, and the breakout. You need those. They're mandatory. Don't cut it. If you cut down this to 2, you're not it. That's not it, really. It's not it. Especially if you, I think if you play a different version like Fiendsmith, you can cut it to 2, or in Goblin Biker Memento, but never cut it in pure. And then the crossboard consistency. This is also a starter because you always stick into something. And then for non-engine, just a bunch. 3 Super Poly, 3 Droplet, 3 Fuba, and Talent Scorpi. You have to play this if you have the space. It's just 3 insta-wins, and those are just the best going second cards in this deck in my opinion. Fuba is mandatory, and those are the best breakers. Droplet is free, and Super Poly is a net breaker and an extender. The only matchup where this card is mid is Dracotel if you don't play Secretarian Dragon. But otherwise this card at least gets rid of something, so it always works. And worst case, you just use it as an unstoppable extender. So then for the Exo deck, also standard 2-1. You can play more, but you don't need more. If you know what you're doing, this is enough. Those are the Super Poly targets. I was thinking about playing the Secretarian, but there's no space because of the side deck. So then the Guardian Camera, I also cut it down. The Dracos the period I played for my life. But I think if you get Dustard or something, you can just get rid of the fusion and go with fusion into Crashing King, which also works. So that's for it. For the fusions, the Link monsters, you got 1 SP and the Herald for end board. SP pairs best end board in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Herald is mandatory because, especially post-siding, when people try to break your board, they will side cards like Duster, Lightning Storm, or anything else, and you need to stop it. And I had one scenario where my opponent was Droplet, discard 2 spells, and I was yes, Chain Herald, and he just fumbled that. So yeah, that's for the end board pieces. And then the Access Code package. If you find space, you should play a Dark as well. Because there were many scenarios where I couldn't go into Access Code because there was no light, but a Dark in the graveyard, especially with the Rise of Mitsu. I think there should be a Dark, but I don't know what to cut for it. Because in my opinion those are mandatory, especially when you play Super Poly. This is needed. Those are always needed. And for the side deck, you got those 4 cards. because I studied Lunas, and yeah, you will see. And this is just, for me, this is probably the main reason why to play the Izuna package. It just makes some matchups free, because you just summon Izuna and Lupus, go into any of those two, and then in your turn you just crash into something. This one obviously needs to survive, and then you just go Zeus, clear board, and then just go full combo without being interrupted at all from their end board. So that's one way to abuse it, but this the Izuna inside deck are also for Draco Tail, obviously, because this is a weird matchup, but it works. And then side deck, 3 Joel, 3 Ash. This is probably boring. I already told you about the Izunas and the 2 gold spells. I would play 3 gold spell if I had space, but the rest of the side deck is for the Protoss package, or like Nemesis package, rather. I think this is... You need to have a win con for going first, post-siding, because of the side deck, obviously. Because when people are playing breakers and they will side more breakers, you just lose. So you just side auto win cards. I think in both weekends I summoned both once. So, but to be fair, at one LCS championship I never went first post siding because I won everything 2-0. Yeah, but in general, it's an option that you need to like have in your side deck, especially because Protoss and Eschatos are so good right now. Like Eschatos is just better for Draco Tail because it's like it is versus Draco Tail. There's no attribute you can call that will like make them fumble the combos. But if you call Dragon, and this one is a Dragon, so you don't need Horned, you can just call Dragon and they cannot play Yu-Gi-Oh at all. And versus the rest of the decks, you just go Protoss. But versus decks like Yami or decks where you in general have an type in your deck and an attribute that you want to call versus them, you just side both. So then there is theoretically a point where you can hard draw one, and if you hard draw one, you can just go for both. So versus Yami, you can just call Light Beast, or versus Draco Tail, you just call, I don't know, versus Draco Tail you don't side this, by the way, but you could call like, I don't know, Dragon Dark for some reason, or versus Malice, Dark, and then you, I don't know how you get a Cybers on board, but you could do it. But yeah, that's the theory behind it, and the Izunas as well. It's just, the reason behind so many headshots in the side deck is that you need a way to stop the FTK decks post-siding, because as you saw, main deck is just Breakers and Fuva, and mostly when you, for example, you Fuva your Kanan opponent and then they look in your hand with Noroi, and they see a Super Poly or a Droplet, or like Memento cards in general, they probably know that there are more breakers in it, and if you play handships with Memento, more like roll Ash Blossom kind of handships, and not like really, like you can say, impactful handships, so that they just go full combo, which is a problem. That's why you need to side some handships. But you can also, theoretically, if you're not scared of Draco Tail, cut those, play a third Ghost Spell and add 3 Dark Ruler, because Dark Ruler makes your Yami or Mitsurugi matchup, or both Yami Mitsuru in general, a lot easier, because the Dark Ruler is just an insta force out for the trap. Because when you resolve Dark Ruler versus Mitsurugi, they cannot use prayers to take damage, because Dark Ruler forbids to take damage to your opponent, so they cannot rebound with prayers. So yeah, that's for it. Here's some main deck stuff. My bad. Oops. This should be main deck. To sum it up, this deck list is very good. I think I'll play it for a while, like right now. The non-engine, even if it's bad, if it's not that much, it works out, because mostly when you have going second, you got, for example, you didn't draw Fuva, you just drew one of those plus 5 engine cards. There's most of the time there's always cards you can discard, or like for Droplet you just used your quick spells and then chain Droplet, so you basically add a Droplet for 0 for your card advantage. And with any of these plus 5 obviously good engine cards, if your engine hand is like this, obviously, then you're not doing anything. But with the average engine hand, you can mostly break the most boards. And if you have Fuva, your life gets especially a lot easier because you can stop Yami from playing that much. And you don't want to get them to Herald, so that's a good way to stop it. And even if they commit, you just draw into those, or like any of these 7 or 8 cards, because Prosperity is everything. You can just out the Herald, and if you out the Herald, you just push to the board with the rest, because the only annoying thing with Yami is the Lollipo that shuffles or banishes from your graveyard. So the only thing you need to remember is that if your opponent already used Lollipo or Cookie to pop or like banish from grave, and if they have, you can already bump this in the graveyard, which are by the way optimal baits for it. So you just go Creation King and trying to send, and then if they reborn, you just send some stupid stuff. So it's a good bait, especially going second, and it worked. And the 3 Sleepy, just like a quick reminder, because sometimes people ask me in the comments about siding patterns. Versus most decks, you just side 2 Sleepy outs. You could then like think, okay, why didn't we just play 1 Sleepy main deck and side 2 for going first? The reason is that in game 1, the end board of your opponent will probably be a little bit weaker. For example, for Mixed and Rookie, they are not playing the trap. So you can probably push the board easier, and they can also have like dead cards like Fuva in the hand, or like any other hand traps that we don't care about. So in my opinion, game 1 to push through boards is easier, and if you win game 1, you're already in a good position, because then you just need to break the board going second in game 2, or even if you can't because your hand is trash, you just go in game 3 and throw out your opponent. So winning game 1 is probably very important with this deck, because game 2 is pretty good, especially post siding with this side deck. And as I said, going second, you side 2 out. If you play versus pure Mitsurugi, you can leave 3 in and side other stuff out. What I mostly side out is another Dark Blade, because going second, you don't need that insane of a consistency, because you do a 6 card and you leave these in. So you can also draw cards with it. Sometimes you side out Prosperity, 1 breakout. Sometimes Talents Called By, depending on the matchup. Versus Dracotail, you leave those in, because Talents or Called By cooks Dracotail, like just Called By the 5 mana after baiting the flame, you just won. But like those you never side out. And I would never recommend you to side out the Feed Spell. You just side it out versus like big combo decks like DDD, then you side it out. But versus mid-range decks or decks like Yami, even if it's a combo deck, you just leave it in, because then it's insane there. But for the rest of the engine, you can just side out 1 Goblin like this. These are the most cards I'm siding out going second. And obviously versus some decks, some non-engine, like versus some FTK decks like K9, Christian, you obviously side out some breakers like Super Poly. You can also side out Talents Called By versus those to put in your whole like side deck. Though if you like count numbers, these are 5, 8, 12 cards. If we play against an FTK deck, we side those 12 cards out, and we put in everything in the side deck except those 3. So this is 12. So there is your siding potential for FTK decks. So this is pretty easy. Basically, this goes for almost every deck that can lock you in some stupid wave. So yeah, that's the theory behind the side deck and the main deck. If you have any questions about it, just ask me in the comments. And that's it, I guess, for the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, as I said, just text me in the comments. I will try to answer everything if I can. And yeah, that's it, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.